Every man dies, but not every man lives. And this was a quote from William Wallace from the movie Braveheart. It was a good movie. You should watch it. And on the surface, it seems like a very simple quote, but there's actually a deeper meaning behind it. We all know that we're gonna perish and that we're gonna die. We all know that we all have a shelf life and that our lives here are temporary, but not everyone lives. To really live means to live a life of fullness. It's not the length of life, but the depth of life that matters. And as we mature and get older, we begin to realize that our time here is limited and that we are finite. And some of us, we will be sad and cynical at this truth, whereas others will see it as an opportunity to make the most of the time that we have been given by God. Psalm chapter 90 verse 12 says this, "Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." How sad would it be when we look back at our lives and realize that we spent so much of our time and our energy and our money on things and on people that simply don't even matter. You see, the benefit to knowing that we are limited and that we have a short amount of time is that it forces us to really prioritize on what's important to God and to us. And so therefore, we must be careful and we must be wise in how we live. You know, that reminds me of a couple verses in Ephesians chapter 5 verses 15 to 16, which says this, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." So how do we make the most of every opportunity? How do we live life to the fullness? And I think the very next verse is very helpful, and it says this, "Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what God's will is." You know, it's a tragedy when God's people, such as you and I, when we live outside of God's will. And it's so unfortunate that there are so many people that will live their entire lives never knowing what God's purpose and what God's will is for them. And maybe that's where you are at this moment. Maybe you feel lost and confused and directionless. And, you know, to be honest, we've all been there. You know, there are times when I feel like I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but there is hope. And I think this is why it's so important for you and I to know the Word of God and what He has to say through His Word. And Romans 12:2 says this, "Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." So knowing God's will doesn't begin with asking God. It starts with the renewal of our minds. It starts when we align and conform ourselves to God and His character. So how do we make the most of every opportunity? Well, we have to renew our minds so that we can understand God's will for us in our lives. And the sooner we know God's will, the sooner we'll be able to live a life of fullness. And I believe that all of us are called to live an abundant life because Jesus Himself said it in John 10:10 when He says, "I have come to," what did He say? "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." And I pray that you'll be able to live that abundant life. Hey, that's it for this video. Take care. God bless. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed this kind of content so that I can make more for you in the future. Hey, take care. Take care. No, I said that already. See ya. Bye.